And welcome, everyone, to our AP Top 25 Bleacher Report poll reaction, Power 37. Remember, that's 37 at large spots. We'll get our Player of the Week, Team of the Week, and our games to watch. And, of course, we will take your questions now. Be nice as you direct them at me here. But, no, I can take it. Thick skin here. All right, let's dive right into it. Crazy week last week. Saw the unbelievable Kentucky-Duke game in Atlanta with our team as Kentucky beat Duke in the Champions Classic. And then Kansas beat Michigan State earlier. I did a doubleheader at Nassau Coliseum on Wednesday night. And then Friday witnessed John Tonje's 41 points in Wisconsin's win over Arizona. So a lot of good basketball last week that I saw in person, but a lot around the country. So let's dive in here. First off, Kansas retains its number one position. No argument there after the win over Michigan State, as Hunter Dickinson had a great game. No one shot the ball really well in that game, but that's okay. They got the W in Atlanta. Here's where it gets interesting. As you can see to your right, I'm going to have them hold that back in my top 15 or 10 there if we can. UConn is at 2. The Huskies still not tested yet. I have them at 3, so I have that flipped. Gonzaga with the wins last week. Well, obviously, to start the season, we know they beat Baylor. They've already beaten Arizona State. And they've got a huge game tonight, Monday night, that we'll talk about at San Diego State. So I think Gonzaga's played a tougher schedule than UConn. That's why I flipped them. I will see UConn in Maui beginning on Monday. At 4, Auburn. So we agree there. Iowa State at 5. By the way, 4 and 5 play each other in Maui. One of the best first-round matchups. That game is on Monday in Maui. It's one of the best first-round matchups of any non-conference tournament. I have Kentucky at 5. Where's Kentucky here? At 9. After the Wildcats knocked off Duke, holding their ground sort of in the last 2 possessions. Cooper Flagg turning the ball over. He had a phenomenal game up until that point. So it's hard to fault him there. But Kentucky, Andrew Carr, 17 points. Otega Owe with the free throws to clinch it and good defense on Flagg. And I love Lamont Butler. I think he's one of the best pickups of any team in the country. He's a winner. So I have Kentucky at 5. I have Duke at 6. They lost in the last minute, okay? I think dropping Duke to 12 is a little harsh from AP. Totally disagree for them to do that. I just don't see it. I'm sorry. At number, where are we here? 6, Purdue. So I have Purdue at 7 and Purdue at 6. I'm fine with that. Purdue knocks off Alabama. Alabama to 8. So we agree. So there's an instance, kind of like the way I view it with Duke and Kentucky, where I had Kentucky leapfrog Duke, which is fair. They just played. Same thing with Purdue, Alabama. It was a road game at Mackey Arena. Purdue doesn't lose at Mackey Arena almost ever. So in this current, sort of era of Purdue basketball. So 9, Kentucky, a little low for me. 10, Carolina. I've got Carolina at 10 as well. Carolina, I will see them Friday night at Hawaii, and then, of course, next week at Maui. Carolina lost a thriller to Kansas last week. I'm not going to ding them too much. Again, true road game. At 11, I have Indiana. Indiana's at 16. So that's fair. Putting them somewhere in that range, I'm fine with that. Houston at 12. For me, Houston at 7. So the difference in this top 10, me versus AP, is I still have Duke in the top 10. They have Houston in the top 10. Houston lost to Auburn in the city of Houston, so de facto home game. Tennessee at 11. We can go to my next page. I have Tennessee just in that next group, so I'm fine with that. Let me go back to that. Where we have Tennessee. Let me go back to where we had Tennessee. Might have had an omission there. Anyway, 13 Baylor. Fine with that again. They've rebounded well after the loss to Gonzaga. Creighton 14. Ryan Kalkbrenner, our National Player of the Week last week. All good there. I've got them the same thing, 14. Now Marquette, I have them at 16, 15 in the poll. No issue there. Marquette with a great road win at Maryland. There's Indiana at 16. I have them a little higher. Arizona at 17. So I dropped Arizona behind Wisconsin, as you see there. Wisconsin at 18 for me. Arizona at 24. So Arizona, Wisconsin, I have a problem. We have to remember, the top 25 is a snapshot of the past week. That's the rankings. The seeding, when we get to that point, that's different. That's the full body of work. Explain to me here how you can, in the AP Top 25, decide to move Purdue ahead of Alabama, correct. Kentucky ahead of Duke, correct. But not Wisconsin ahead of Arizona. I know it's only 2 spots. Still, there's no rationale for that. How can you say that you're going to put Purdue ahead of Alabama, Kentucky ahead of Duke, and not Wisconsin ahead of Arizona? 103.88. That, to me, is the one that I do not understand here in this top 25. Cincinnati, 18. I got them 20 fine. Arkansas, what have they done? I don't think they should be ranked in the top 25. I have them overall, but not yet. Florida, 21. I have Florida at 19. That's fine. St. John's at 22. I have Rutgers there. Illinois at 25. Illinois 21 for me. I've got Rutgers at 22. Texas Tech just beat Wyoming. JT Toppin's having a phenomenal start to the season. I think the Red Raiders are better than St. John's. St. John's with that home win over New Mexico. Richard Pitino. So before we move on to my back part of my Power 37, I would just say that in this top 25, Arkansas should not be there. And they definitely should have flipped Arizona and Wisconsin. Now let's go to the rest of my Power 37, the last page of that. We'll react to that. You can see there, 25 for me is UCF. There's Arkansas at 26. UCF undefeated. UCF, by the way, beat Texas A&M. So again, I'm trying to be consistent here, okay? So here's another example. UCF, 2 spots ahead of A&M. UCF beat A&M. Now, this is not the case always when we get deeper into the season and we have a full body of work. Just because you beat someone in November may not mean that you'll be ranked higher than that team, in mid to late February, based on what you've done in between point A and point B. But in this small sample size, okay, it doesn't make any sense. I need more work from St. John's in my eyes here. I have them a little deeper. They're 22. I got them at 30. Again, I flipped A&M and Ohio State. Ohio State goes to A&M and loses. So there you go. Xavier, Texas 31, which lost to Ohio State. Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Pitt, sneaky good again. Penn State, Mike Rhodes is doing a great job. Okay, keep an eye out for the Nittany Lions. They are going up and down, scoring a ton of points. BYU, again, another Big 12 school that you're going to have to keep an eye on. And VCU, best team right now in the A10. All right, so who was our National Player of the Week? Well, I referenced him. It was John Tonje from Wisconsin. He had 41 points, 21 of 22 from the free throw line, 4 of 6 from the three-point line. Transferred from Colorado State, Missouri to Wisconsin. He was 2 points shy of the 43 single game record at Wisconsin by Frank Kaminsky, who was in the building because they were celebrating 10 years since that 14-15 teams that played in the Final Four back-to-back for Wisconsin. Just a phenomenal performance. Caleb Love got in foul trouble early and just was not effective. My national team of the week, a little biased here because I saw two great performances, so it was easy for me to make my selections. So I was there for John Tonje on Friday. A couple days earlier on Tuesday, I was in Atlanta for Kentucky as the national team of the week, winning a thriller over Duke, 77-72. Remember, Kentucky trailed by 9 at the half and 8 with just under 9 minutes remaining. As I said, Carr did a great job with 17, and Otego Owe, he had 15 and those 2 late free throws. So Mark Pope, I love the way these pieces fit. All right, before we get to your questions, let's go with our games to watch. So the week ahead. All right. First off, Purdue at Marquette. This is the second Big Ten team in a row for the Golden Eagles. They just won at Maryland. Purdue coming off the home win over Alabama. Just what a bounce back. You got to go from home Alabama on Friday to Tuesday night. You're at Marquette. It's going to be a huge test for the Boilermakers. Monday night, tonight as we're taping, Gonzaga at San Diego State. The Zags look like they're a Final Four team, and San Diego State, I'm not quite sure because they had to completely restock. I mean, I right now would put them behind, New Mexico, Boise, Nevada. I don't think they'll stay in fourth in my mind, but that's where they are. You get a game like this at home, Viejas, it's going to be rocking the show, one of the best student sections in the country. They'll be going strong. Illinois versus Alabama. That game's in Birmingham. Huge test for the Illini. Alabama's playing a monster schedule. The following week, they'll be in the Players Era event in Vegas where it's going to, elite game after game. So huge test for the Illini. Very talented, but not tested yet. Duke at Arizona. I love the fact we're getting elite, true home and homes this early in the season. A year ago, Arizona went into Cameron and won. Arizona now coming off a road loss to Wisconsin. So this is a big game for Caleb Love. Certainly knows Duke well. Played at North Carolina. So this will be a great matchup. Baylor, St. John's, that game's in the Bahamas. Huge test for the Red Storm. Wisconsin versus UCF. Two teams that I did not think I'd be ranking in the top 25 in mid-November. Here we are. That's at the Greenbrier in West Virginia. Big game for both because now let's see. Wisconsin beats Arizona. UCF beats Texas A&M. Can they string 2 in a row together? Virginia, Tennessee. Love the way McNeely played for Virginia in their win over Villanova. So now another neutral site test. This game is in Brooklyn. And we'll see. I mean, Tennessee, this is, they already destroyed Louisville. Let's see if they can take down another ACC team. Now, here's a sneaky game, also in the same event. Texas Tech, St. Joe's. St. Joe's, after that early loss, they beat Villanova. They're still projected to be one of the top 4 teams in the A-10. As I told you, Texas Tech, sneaky good in the Big 12. I'm intrigued by that matchup. Nebraska, Creighton. I have this on the list because it's a great rivalry game in state. This game's in Omaha. Regardless how each team is playing, the one that maybe not be as good usually rises up. Nebraska had a tough loss on Sunday in South Dakota to St. Mary's. Creighton has been rolling, but have not been tested yet. It's a rivalry game. It is at home, but I'm always intrigued by this matchup. And here, I don't want to hear any of the, you get North Carolina and Hawaii. You know why I've got this game here? Not just because I'm going to be there, because history has shown schools that pick up a game on the way to Maui, it can be very difficult. So don't be shocked when you wake up Saturday morning if this was a close game. Should be rocking at the Stan Sheriff Center. I will be there. I will bring you the coverage before we head to Maui. So Carolina doing that. By the way, Memphis is playing a dangerous game on the way to Maui at San Francisco. The Dons are pretty good. So keep an eye on that result as Memphis goes to USF in San Francisco on the way to Maui. Here's North Carolina making a stopover in Honolulu to play the Rainbow Warriors, who, by the way, are off to an undefeated start. They won the Outrigger Classic, and they just beat Weber State. So, Weber State traditionally is pretty good in the Big Sky. They've been at home, but it's an intriguing matchup. So keep that in mind. All right, let's get to some of your questions. Thoughts on Memphis and the rankings? Well, my thoughts are that I'm going to get a chance to see them firsthand. I just mentioned they're going to play that game against USF on the way to Maui. That's going to be an intriguing game for the Tigers. And then how they do, they open with UConn. They're on the same side of the bracket with Michigan State and Colorado. So let's say you lose to UConn, you definitely can beat Michigan State or Colorado. So Memphis, I think, has a legit shot to come out of Maui 2-1. It's just how they get to 2-1. And that would be great. In this loaded field where it's UConn, Memphis, Michigan State, Colorado, Iowa State, Auburn, North Carolina, Dayton, you can get 2 wins next week in Maui, I think you're going to be pretty happy. What does Kansas need to do to retain number 1? Just keep winning. That was an easy one. Who's winning, Kentucky or Zags? I don't know. Look, we're not there yet. I want to see how Gonzaga does against San Diego State, but I think it's a bit of a toss-up. It's not a cop-out. I think it's a toss-up. Why not Purdue for Team of the Week? The game was at home. I could have definitely gone with the Boilermakers. It's a fair comment, but I thought the neutral site win of Kentucky over Duke, when we didn't know much about Kentucky, and by the way, I did initially pick Purdue to win the Big Ten, so I'm not shocked they won a home game at Mackey against Alabama. Any chance St. Mary's makes it in? Yes. Just keep winning. That was a good win over Nebraska. How legit is Auburn? They are legit. They're a Final Four contender, but they've got one of the toughest first-round matchups, the game against Iowa State. Who's winning Illinois-Bama? I have a hard time seeing Bama losing 2 high-profile games in a row, especially when this one's in Birmingham. Why is UF so low? They beat a very mediocre Florida State team. Let's wait and see what the Gators do. How close is Maryland to being in my Power 37? Well, they were going to get in had they beaten Marquette. So why did Baylor drop 1? It was more of schools leaping Baylor. Texas Tech, number 9 in KenPom. So I feel like me and KenPom are more aligned because I'm high on Texas Tech. So I agree with you. I don't know why they're not ranked. How underrated is Kentucky? Not anymore. Mississippi State deserves better. Well, I got them in my Power 37. They did beat Utah on a neutral court. We'll see. How good do I think the Badgers can be? Let me find out this week, because this tournament where they potentially could play UCF and then Pitt, we're going to know a lot about the Badgers. Was that an anomaly? Was that who they're going to be? Bottom line is they can score now. They're not going to have scoring droughts. That's what's key right now. Houston, Bama. That's Vegas. You're saying next week. I got to wait and see what happens this week. Duke is a contender, not a pretender. Duke is a contender. Cooper Flagg, Con Knippel, excuse me. That's a 1-2 punch. Caleb Foster and Tyrese Proctor, I think, is going to have a banner season. Yes, Bama's still legit. Nate Oates is challenging them. Still some new pieces. It was a road game at Mackey. Not easy to win at Mackey. I don't know if this is Gonzaga's deepest team, but it's up there. And again, I can already hear squawking if the Zags get a 1 seed out west. But if they win some of these non-conference games, there's going to be no squawking. They're going to deserve it. And then when they eventually go to the Pac-12, maybe there'll be less squawking, but it probably will always be there. When will Oregon see the top 25? I guess let's see. I like Oregon, as you can tell. I have them at 17. I guess it's going to, AP top 25 voters are going to have to stay up and watch some West Coast games. My Maui sleeper. I guess my Maui sleeper would be probably Memphis, because it's a big if Memphis can pull the upset on day one, I think they're beating either Michigan State or Colorado. So suddenly Memphis is in the final. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be a huge test for UConn. UConn has the pieces to be a title contender, but they haven't been tested yet. Memphis, very athletic. They can rebound. It's going to be a neutral site. Obviously, it's a little bandbox of a gym, but can Auburn climb to 1? I think if Auburn can climb to 1 if they win the Maui Invitational, because that would mean getting through probably 2 of the top 5 teams. I mean, think about that. In the Maui Invitational, we've got number 2, 4, 5, 10. So that's half the field right there. Pretty good. All right, let's see here. How good can St. John's be? Top 3 in the Big East. Can North Carolina retain its top 10 spot without a real big? Yes. Is Notre Dame relevant this year? Well, they're more relevant than they've been in the last couple of years. It was a really good showing in the win over Georgetown, but I don't think Georgetown's very good. So I want to pause on that. But I think they're going to be somewhere in the middle of the pack in the ACC. All right, let's see if we may be calling it. Yeah. All right. Oh, one more. Thoughts on UCLA? Well, I'm rethinking UCLA after they destroyed Lehigh. And there's no question that the Bruins, the New Mexico turnover debacle, 21 against the Lobos, it turned the corner a little. I'm going to see UCLA a couple times in December, so I'll have a little bit better perspective on the Bruins. All right, here's the week ahead. Friday, North Carolina at Hawaii. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I will be reporting from the Maui Invitational. As always, you can go to ncaa.com for our full weekly word. March Madness MBB on the various social medias, whether it's X, Instagram, Blue Sky. I'm also on Blue Sky now. So across all the platforms. And of course, Bleacher Report, all our coverage is there as well. Thank you again for the engagement to our outstanding producer, Caitlin Schmidt, and everyone else in our teams, in our social media departments from Atlanta to New York to Indianapolis. Appreciate everyone, and we will talk again on Monday from the island of Maui. Thanks again.